Assalamualaikum and selamat sejahtera and good day to you all of my awesome student. I'm Madam Zuraida Ismail will teach you how to write a pseudocode for dual selection. In this video, you can see the difference between single selection and dual selection. It also focuses on how to find maximum and minimum between two numbers. Let's proceed to see the subtopic. The subtopic here you can see first define dual selection and the basic writing pseudocode of dual selection. Then how to use single selection to find maximum between two numbers. Then you will learn how to use dual selection to find maximum between two numbers. And then use dual selection to get maximum and minimum between two numbers. Get two maximum and minimum. Then use dual selection but display only the message for each action of selection. Then you do evaluation, do it yourself. Okay, what does it mean? Dual selection is a two-way alternative or option to be chosen. If and else, you can see here, if and else is used to write down the selection, then perform either action 1 or perform statement 2, action 2. Either do this or do that. Okay, so how you write it in this dual selection? If you must use if and then must write down the Boolean condition, or what I mean, you put relational operation or logic operation in this bracket, inside the bracket. When you use if, you must put bracket here to put condition of Boolean condition, and then what action to be done if true, then else to show otherwise what should happen. In else, you no need to write down the condition in statement else this here in here. Okay, you can see start, then you read, usually you read input variable, what is input variable, and then you compare. If input variable that you read, you see, if the input variable you read, and then you compare using the logical operator, more than 50 example here, fixed value, or you can more equal to, is it input variable is equal to something, a variable also can. And then what to do? If true, do this. If false, do that. Then end. Either one. Okay. Hello, awesome student. Let's start with example 1. Find maximum between two numbers. Here I use single selection. Okay. As a problem analysis, input number 1 and number 2. Process determine maximum between two numbers. Output max. Okay, how I do that? Let's see how I do the pseudocode for this question. Okay, no need to write down number 1 is maximum or number 2 is maximum. No, I just put it single variable here, max. Only max. How to do that? Start, read. Okay, how you do that? Read. Okay, what you need to read? Input first, number 1, number 2. Okay, then you if number 1 more, see the relational operation, how you do it. Make sure you compare two variable or compare with two numbers or and so on. Sometimes usually on your left side we use input variable, number 1. Compare input variable here, number 1 more than number 2. Is it? You must read like that. Is it number 1 more than number 2? You cannot write only one single variable inside this Boolean expression. That's is false. You cannot just write if number 1 only. Cannot. You have to compare. Do comparison. Number 1 more than number 2? Is it number 1 more than number 2? And then you write down number 1 is assigned into max. Okay. value in number 1 is assigned into max. And if. So that means if true, we'll proceed with this action. If false, we go to the next. After and if, what happened? Okay, let's see. Next, number 2 more than number 1. Is it? Number 2 is more than number 1. Then you, if true, what computer will execute? Number 2 will assign into max. Number 2 will assign into max. So and if false, do nothing. Okay, out from that and if, print max. What is the value of max? N. Okay. Let's proceed. How you read this statement? Make sure you must read number 1 assigned into max. Number 2 is assigned into max, like that. Number 1 is stored into max. You must make sure that. Then for this, how about you try to draw flowchart for this pseudocode? Okay, let's proceed with the next. Why I draw the line there? I draw the line there to show you if case this is true, then go to where? Below the and if. You cannot say if this case if is true. If this case is true, where to go? Just go to n. It's wrong. If case true is if true, then go to below the and if. Let's observe attentively how computer execute this pseudocode. Start. Read number 1, number 2, and then if number 1, is it number 1 more than number 2? If true, what you should do? If true, you do this. Okay. If true. Okay, do number 1 is assigned into max. Okay. And then after that, if true, what you should do? You go to next instruction after below that statement true. Below that statement true. Okay. If false, what you should do? If false, actually they will go to after statement true. If false, is contained with if. Number 2, is it number 2 more than number 1? What you should do? Okay. If true, if this case true, then this statement will be executed. Number 2 is assigned to make. If false, for sure lah. If false, if this case is true, actually number 2 for sure is not more than number 2. So if false, what should do? Print only max. Max is the value in the max, and then n. Okay, let's see. If you cannot see it, observe it using this pseudocode. You can see in the flowchart. Read number 1, number 2. Oh, I forgot to correct this statement. Number you must put small letter because the variable is actually number 1. Okay, number 1 more than number 2. True. If true, what you should do? Maximum means number 1 is store. Number 1 is stored into max when the case is true. See, when the case is true, number 1 is stored in this. Then what to do after this case is true? You can see the arrow is go to the next if. Same goes to here. The arrow go to the next if. Okay, the next if, what should do? If number 2 is more than number 1, what should do? If false, for sure it false because number 1 is more than number 2, right? So for sure it is false. Then go to where? Print max, then n. See, if false, for sure it false actually, and print max below that statement, then n. Okay, you can see that. If true, go to if, then if false, go to print max, then n. Okay, how about if false? What happened? If number 1 is false, what happened? Okay, you can see here. If false, go to the next if. They will not execute this statement. They will execute below that statement true. This is statement true. So below that statement true contain if. See, we go to the next if. Number 2 is more than number 1. For sure it is true. So when it is true, what to do? Number 2 is assigned into max. Can see there? Yeah, for sure, when this first statement is false, first if is false, for sure lah the next if is true. So what to do? True. Number 2 is assigned to max, and then what to do? Okay, then print max. Let's proceed with the dual selection. How you find maximum between two numbers. Between two numbers here, the IPO is still the same with the single selection because the input is the same, number 1, number 2, and the process determine max between two numbers, output max. It's just the same with the single selection. But the difference is single selection you have to write down twice for the if. The case if you have to write down twice. But in dual selection you can see here you only write it once only, if else. See, read number 1 and then read number 2. If is it number 1 more than number 2? If that case is true, what you should do, if this case is true, number 1 is true, so you just assign number 1 into max. Okay, after this case is true, after you done this, where to go? You are no need to go to the else statement because the computer will choose either one. If the first action is true, what to do next? Just proceed with under or below the statement else. Statement through else is the end of this condition if. That means you have to go to below statement else. Okay, that's why you have to write down an if there to make sure after the case is true, where to go? Below the statement else. Statement this one, below that. What is there? You can see print max. So that means you print number 1 as max. Okay, and okay, how about if the case is false? If the case is false, is it number 1 is more than number 2? If false, so the computer will choose statement else. Number 2 will be assigned into max. I mean number 2 is max, right? If the case is false, computer will choose action 2, which is number 2 is assigned into max. Then where to go? You just go the same place where the true is go. Below that, which is print max, and then n. Okay, done. Okay, make sure you read this statement correctly so that you're not confused what happened here. Value in variable number 1 is assigned to max. Okay, what I mean, value in number 1 is stored into variable max. Okay, make sure you should know that. Okay, and then make sure you put line here. Actually no need to draw, actually just for you to know that if the case is true, where to go? Below the statement else, below the statement true of else here. What is there inside below that? Okay, how about you try yourself to draw the flowchart? Even though the next slide I will show you how to draw the flowchart correctly. Okay, let's see what happened in the flowchart for previous slide. Okay, start, read number 1, number 2, and then is it number 1 more than number 2? What to do? Okay, they will do. If case this is true, what to do? Number 1 is stored in max. If true, then go to where? Go to below the last statement of case true of else. Last statement, you must see that. So that's why I ask my student to draw underline for the last statement of statement true else here. Statement true else here, you just draw a line there, or that's why you need to write an if so that you know if case is true, where to go after that. So you will know where to go. You just make sure you know which is the last statement of case true else. Okay, So after that they will go to the print max. Okay, so if the case is false, what to do? If this is false, just go to the statement true of else. If this case is false, okay, you draw like that, false. Number 2 is assigned to max, and then where to go? Just the same, just go below under the statement, which is print max and then n. Okay, so let's see the flowchart, how to draw it. For number 1, read number 1, number 2, and then number 1 more than number 2. Is it number 1 more than number 2? So if the case is true, what to do? You draw number 1 is assigned into max, then print max and then n. Okay, if that the case is true, see? Okay, how about if the case is false? Where to go? You just no need to draw diamond anymore, because else no condition to be written, right? Else no condition to be written. No boolean condition here. No need, else, because no if. So you just put the statement true for else, which is number 2 is assigned into max. Number 2 is assigned to max. Then where to go? Print max. Then the end. Okay, how about the selection for find maximum and minimum number? Find 2 action to be written if the case for this question. Okay, how to do it? Program analysis, input number 1, number 2. So the process actually determine whether which one is greater and which one is minimum. Okay, number 1 is greater than number 2 to get minimum and maximum number. Or you can write down determine min and max. Determine min and max. So the output is max and min. Okay, determine whether based on two number. Okay, start number 1, number 2. How to do it? You use if. Is it number 1 is more than number 2? So what to do if the case is true? If this case is true, you do 2 action inside case true of if. Okay, means number 1 is assigned into max because number 1 is more, right? Okay, then number 2 is min. Okay, that you should do what you should do. Okay, after that, what to do? They goes to below case true of else. Actually, below case true of else, which I draw underline here, line here, so that you know case true of else is both here. Okay, then what to do? Print max and print min and then n. Okay, how about false? If this case is false, it just goes to this statement. Do number 2 is max, and then do next instruction. Number 1 is assigned to min, and then what to do? After that, you must print max also, and then print min, and then n. Okay, can you draw the flowchart for this pseudocode? Try. Okay. Okay, this pseudocode for the that action maybe no. You have to try by yourself. Okay, for the previous slide. So this question actually find maximum between two numbers, only display a message, not write variable. So what to do? Program analysis, number 1, number 2, the process determine whether number 1 is greater than number 2. Output, message number 1 is greater than number 2 or number 2 is greater than number 1. What are the difference between this question and previous question? Previous question output is max only, or max and min, but this slide only you have to show the message. If you have to show the message, make sure you put double quote, because you only to show double quote message for number 1 is greater than number 2 or either one. See, either one. So dual selection show action 1 or action 2. This. Okay. Pseudocode, how to do that? Start, read number 1, number 2. Is it number 1? If number 1 more than number 2, is it number 1 more than number 2? This is how you should read the action. Then display number 1 is greater than number 2. If true, if the case is true, should do this. Okay. And then else you should do this. Okay. So and if, make sure you put an if so that you know that the last statement for else is display number 2 is greater, and then do nothing or just and. Okay, that means if the case is true, display number 1 is greater than number 2, then go to where? You have to go below the statement true of else is only have n. That means the computer will stop execute. Okay, if the case is true, what they do is just display number 1 is greater than number 2, and then just n. If false, what happened? If the case is false, okay, just display. Okay, display number 2 is greater than number 1, and then where to go? Just below true statement of else contain what? Only n statement, so stop execute. Okay. So this is the flowchart for this case. If number 1 more than number 2, okay, if the case is true, number 1 is greater than number 2, then n. If the case is false, what you should do? Print number 2 is greater than number 1. There you go. Should do n. Okay, these questions, the two-way selection, okay, you need to do this evaluation. Number 1, if code is it the code is equal to 2? How you read this segment must read correctly, so that you know how to answer this, to write the flowchart for this program segment. Enter code and number. Then is it code is equal to 2? Is it code is equal to 2? What you should do? You should calculate number multiplied by number, then store into square. Okay, then you display variable square. Then what to do? And if right, nothing to be done. Then if false, this case if true. If false, what to do? They go to else, display number false. Okay, I read for you. So how you do the flowchart for this program segment? You have to write the second evaluation. How you write the flowchart for this? You store 15 into age. You store 15 assign into age, and then if is it age? Can see if you use variable before that must have number, right? The age have contain number which is 15. Is it 15 more than 17? What you should do? Is it this one or else? Okay, you have to choose that. Okay, what to do? Okay, draw this flowchart, and then draw flowchart for the program segment on the right box. This on the right this right side. Okay, draw flowchart for this one, number 1. And then what is the output when the input are? Okay, you have to tell each for each A what is the output if the code is 1. B, what is the output for the if the code is 2. Okay, if the code is equal to 3, what to do? If the code is it equal to 0, what to do? Okay, what is the output for each A, B, C, and D? You have to show it to your teacher. Okay, this is a clue back. Remember, actually, usually you read input name and you usually compare what you input name there, and then the logical operator you put, and then compare with what. Don't just put one variable only. You have to compare with 2 variable or 2 variable. Either variable in compare with the constant variable. Constant means number 5, 10, and so on. This one not constant variable, constant fixed value. Fixed value, I mean with fixed value. This is variable, fixed value 5, 10, and so on. we must compare two. Make sure. So you see what you read. Usually, sometimes what we read, we have to count first, and then store in variable name, and then we compare using variable name after the operation. Okay, you must know how to process all the problem solving given to you correctly. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.